We stayed in Paris and then moved to Rome. 今回はですね、全然問題じゃないことを問題にしました。多分自分のちょっと変な性格のせいで普通のネイティブスピーカーはね、そこまで気にしないことなんですが、やっぱりすごく気になるタイプです。自分が育ってきた英語があります。両親、先生、友達、本、テレビなどなど、この50年間生きてていろんな英語をインプットされて、それは基準にはなってますね。皆さんもそうだと思います。英語にしても日本語にしても、今の言葉の使い方ちょっと違うな日本人同士でもありますよね。I'm going to take a close look at the problem, the reason, the solution, and some example sentences. I'm hoping this is going to give you an insight into how language can be interpreted differently depending on how it's used. First, let's look at the problem. We stayed in Paris and then moved to Rome. We stayed in Paris and then moved to Rome. In English conversation class, a high percentage of our students regularly go on trips. Sometimes domestic, and sometimes they go overseas. In the natural course of conversation, we talk about the places that you went, the food that you ate, and the people that you met. We look at videos and photographs, eat souvenirs over coffee. It's great fun. I love it. But when we get onto the topic of itineraries, like schedules, I always know what's coming. I'm mentally prepared for it. Paris sounds absolutely amazing. It was wonderful. Everything was like a scene from a movie. That's so cool. And how long did you stay in Paris? We were there for about 5 nights. And what did you do after that? After that, we moved to Rome. You moved to Rome. Yes, we moved to Rome next. You moved to Rome. Something the matter? No, nothing at all. Moved. So as you may have gathered, I'm not entirely happy with the way the word move is being used here. Every time I hear it being used like this, it just makes my English radar switch on. Now, as I said in the beginning, this is more of a me problem. How come? Because it can be understood clearly. It's not necessarily a mistake. It's just, I hardly ever hear native speakers using move like this quite so readily. I mean, it's not the first choice verb. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Come on, Scott, give us a break. We're not native speakers. Never will be. As long as we can be clearly understood, surely that's good enough. Exactly. I get it. I totally get it. But this is the kind of thing which I like to analyze in this series. The kind of thing that usually gets swept under the carpet. Let's look at the reasons why this kind of thing happens. I'm pretty sure at this point you're thinking the same thing as me. You're probably translating the Japanese verb 移動する and thinking, hang on, that's all right, isn't it? Well, it is and it isn't. If we look at Google Translate, which I know is not the best for 移動する, it does say move. We're talking about people changing location from A to B. We can use the English verbs move or transfer. Well, at least that's what it says in the dictionary. But I have a question for you. Do you want to talk like a dictionary or a regular person? Probably a regular person, right? Now, we do use the verb move when talking about changing location, but it's only for special cases. 2 things that spring to mind are move house, move office. So when we're talking about a travel itinerary, instead of saying we stayed in Paris and then moved to Rome, there are more natural ways to say it. I'm going to tell you all about them back in the classroom. Let's go. So the solution to this one is a piece of cake. Just use the verb go. You know, sometimes the simplest things make the most sense. We stayed in Paris and then went to Rome. Now I realize that some of you watching this may be thinking the Japanese word ido has so many deep meanings included in the word. Go feels like there's something missing. It's not enough. But it's just like I always say, you could probably have a complete conversation using just 4 or 5 verbs and it would sound really natural. Try these on for size. Be, have, get, do, and go. Anywho, let's rework the skit I did before. It'll sound way better this time. Paris sounds absolutely amazing. It was wonderful. Everything was like a scene from a movie. That's so cool. And how long did you stay in Paris? We were there for about 5 nights. And what did you do after that? After that, we went to Rome. Cool. Did you go by train or something? No, we flew there. I'd love to have gone by train though. Yeah, you can't beat going through Europe by train. By the by, while we're on the topic of international travel, I know a lot of people love to use the word transit when talking about air travel. Sure, transit is a word. You see it in airports, when people talk about logistics, but it's very technical. I always recommend saying something like this. We have a connecting flight. We changed planes in Dubai. We had to take a transfer flight. We had a 3-hour layover in Chicago. That kind of thing. My advice to you is that in regular daily conversation, we don't use transit quite as much as you might think. My friend came to Japan all on his lonesome and went around the country on a rental motorbike. As you can see, I didn't use the verb move in this example, just the simple go. When you do something on your lonesome, it means you did it alone. I hear you're taking a road trip. I'm doing the Route 66 thing. I've got myself a Winnebago RV and that's how we're going. So again, we didn't use the verb move, we used go. So taking a road trip is basically a trip where you go by car on a road and you go somewhere. It's quite popular to say go on a road trip. A Winnebago RV is a very famous type of recreational vehicle, which is really popular, especially in North America. They're one of the biggest companies for producing those types of vehicles. Sounds like quite the road trip. They say that moving house is one of the most stressful things that a family can go through. To go through something is to experience a really tough time and hopefully come out the other end unscathed. When we were waiting for our connecting flight in LA, Shohei Ohtani casually sauntered by. To saunter is to walk very casually, just like you were taking a walk in the park or something. I'm being moved to the Osaka branch at the end of March. It's going to be such an upheaval. Of course, we use the verb transfer in this case, but you can also use being moved. When something is an upheaval, it's a very tough time in your life.